Broadcasting from 88.3 FM WXUT, this is Autumn on Air. It is currently 3:30 in the afternoon on Friday, September 27th. Skies will be cloudy with rain picking up in the mid-afternoon and evening, highs of 72, lows of 65, and the rain is set to be constant throughout the weekend until Tuesday. Thank you for tuning into your newscast. I'm Autumn Vasquez.
And I'm Autumn Cerniak. Starting with national news, Tuesday and Wednesday of last week, Israel detonated hundreds of pagers in Lebanon, which has further escalated tensions between the two nations. This attack has escalated into a full-on conflict as Hezbollah and Israel are exchanging strikes. As of writing, 350 people have died, with 1,240 wounded in Israeli strikes, according to the Lebanese Health Ministry. This is in addition to the 37 killed and 2,931 injured in the pager attacks, according to Amnesty.org. The attacks were intended to target Hezbollah officials. However, international criticism has been drawn, with many calling the attacks a war crime, as Israel was unable to know if civilians would be harmed in the attack, which at least has killed 4 civilians. According to Aya Majoub, Amnesty International's deputy director for the Middle East and North Africa, even if the attacks intended to target military objectives, detonating thousands of devices simultaneously without being able to determine their exact location or whose possession they were in at the time of the attack demonstrates a flagrant disregard for the right to life and the laws of conflict. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the U.S. is still assessing how the attacks in Lebanon could affect efforts to negotiate a ceasefire in the ongoing conflict in Palestine. News to come out of North Carolina as Mark Robinson, a Trump-endorsed Republican candidate for governor of North Carolina, has been linked to a years-old post he made on a pornographic website. The posts included describing himself as a black Nazi and spoke favorably of reinstating slavery, according to The Guardian. In light of this, his campaign senior advisor, campaign manager, and finance director have all resigned, amongst others. Konrad Pogorzelski, the third, who was a senior advisor and helped Robinson win the 2020 election for governor and was Robinson's chief of staff, was amongst those who had resigned, and that he, quote, along with others from the campaign, have left of our own accord. Robinson has denied being the author to these posts, yet he did not appear with Donald Trump at a campaign rally in North Carolina and avoided the subject during a campaign appearance later that day. Robinson is still positive that he will win. Quote, I am confident our campaign remains in a strong position to make our case to the voter and win in this November. Chappell Roan, the phenomenon herself, has stated her issues with the U.S. government and her unwillingness to endorse a presidential candidate for the 2024 election. This is in line with her previous criticisms of the U.S., including an unwillingness to perform at the White House for Pride last summer. Quote, I have so many issues with our government in every way, she said. There are so many things that I would want to change, so I don't feel pressured to endorse anyone, end quote. She had also stated, there are problems on both sides, and I encourage people to use our critical thinking skills. Use your vote small, vote for what's going on in your city. Sean Diddy Combs has been recently implicated in the murder of Tupac Shakur. Court documents involving Duane Davis, the man accused of killing rap and hip-hop legend Tupac, have brought mention of Combs several times. Quote, Davis has asserted publicly that he only told on himself and wasn't trying to provide evidence against anyone else in the conversations with the police. However, this statement belies the claim, as he suggested that Sean Combs paid Eric Von Martin $1 million for the killing, as well as offered to set up a surreptitious phone call with Terrence Brown, the driver who at the time was still alive. This is in addition to mounting allegations of sexual assault, sexual abuse, and sex trafficking, amongst rape of other things, which has led to the music mogul being arrested by federal agents in New York last Monday. A new Mozart single has dropped as a string trio composition has been unearthed from a library in Leipzig, Germany. This composition is believed to be 260 years old and was publicly performed for the first time on Thursday last week. The composition was reportedly written when Mozart was a teenager, according to archivists working on the Köchel catalog. The piece was also performed Saturday of last week and can be found online. Early on Sunday last week, Israeli troops raided the Al Jazeera offices in the city of Ramallah and the West Bank. The soldiers ordered the bureau to shut down amid a widening campaign targeting the broadcaster, as it continued to cover the conflict in the Gaza Strip. Al Jazeera broadcasted live footage of it on its Arabic language channels, whilst Israeli authorities were ordering the office to be shut down for 45 days. This is in addition to an order issued in May, which saw Israeli police raid their broadcasting position in East Jerusalem, where they seized equipment there, preventing broadcasts in Israel and blocking its websites. This move has been the first time Israel has ever shut down a foreign news outlet. Despite this, Al Jazeera still operates in the Israeli-occupied West Bank and the Gaza Strip. Israel has acknowledged this incident, alleging without providing evidence that the newsroom was, quote, being used to incite terror, to support terrorist activities, and that the channel's broadcasts endanger, quote, security and public order. In a study by Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, researchers have found that the Texas abortion ban has resulted in a 12% increase in infant mortality from 2021 to 2022, and a 56% increase in maternal mortality cases from 2019 to 2022. This is comparable to a 11% increase nationwide, according to analysis from the Gender Equity Policy Institute, who has looked at CDC data and shared their analysis with CBS News. In an interview with CBS News, Nancy Cohen, one of the project leads, said there's only one explanation for the staggering difference in maternal mortality. She added, all the research points to Texas's abortion ban as the primary driver of the alarming increase. These mortality rates have disproportionately affected African American women, peaking at 79.5 maternal deaths per 100,000 live births in 2021, compared to 45.5 for Hispanic women and 37.1 amongst white women. There are several concerns over women's reproductive rights and over the health of the baby, as a lack of access to abortions means that more mothers are being forced to give birth to children with irreparable genetic disorders that present lethal complications to the child and potentially the mother. The most ominous thing Cohen mentioned in the interview is, quote, Texas, I fear, is a harbinger of what's to come in our other states, as Cohen and her team fear that this may become a new norm in several of these states that have put bans on abortion. Last Tuesday in Missouri, Marcellus Williams was executed by the state. He was initially convicted in 1998 for breaking into a woman's home and stabbing her to death. The issue with this being that Williams was on all accords an innocent man. The DNA evidence that linked him to the knife used to kill was revealed to belong to the prosecutors who had improperly handled the evidence. The prosecutor for the case had removed 6 of the 7 black jurors, and in an August hearing, the prosecutor, Keith Larner, testified to removing one of the jurors because, quote, he looked too much like Williams. In the days preceding Tuesday, the victim's family and prosecution both begged for the execution to be stayed. Back in August, Midwest Innocence Project attorneys reached an agreement with the victim's family and Judge Hilton, who presided over the case. They reached an agreement for Williams to enter a no-contest plea on the charges in exchange for life in prison without parole. The agreement was appealed by Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey and ultimately denied by the Missouri Supreme Court. Williams' case had made it all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court in the days preceding his execution, where the 3 liberal justices all voted in favor of staying the execution, whilst the 6 conservative justices, 3 of which had been appointed by former President Trump, voted against staying the execution. Marcellus Williams is the 3rd person to be put to death in the state of Missouri this year and the 100th to be executed since the state resumed the death penalty in 1989. Marcellus Williams was by most accounts an innocent man, as he faced an unfair jury, had no DNA evidence tying him to the scene, and of the 2 confessions on record, both were jailhouse confessions which are questionable in their legitimacy. The death of Williams was entirely preventable. The NAACP President Derek Johnson stated on X, formerly Twitter, tonight, Missouri lynched another black man, end quote. It should be noted Governor Parsons denied any clemency requests for Williams. This same governor who commuted the sentence of former Kansas City Chiefs assistant coach Britt Reed, who had a DUI in 2021 and left a young girl with severe brain injuries. The same governor who pardoned Mark and Patricia McCloskey, a St. Louis couple faced with misdemeanor 4th-degree assault and harassment charges for coming outside their home with firearms as a Black Lives Matter protest was passing by their home in 2020. The same governor who pardoned Kenny Batson, who nearly beat a man to death. In all of these instances, the people pardoned were all white. The death of Marcellus Williams is a tragedy, but one that did not need to happen, and now an innocent man has been killed by the state and not through accident. Throughout his over 20-year stay, William had turned to faith to help give him strength. This was noted with his last words being, all praise be to Allah in every situation.
Thank you for that national news coverage, Autumn. Moving on to Toledo's news now. The Toledo Police Department is still investigating a shooting that happened Sunday night on the 700 block of Siegel Court off of Wofford Drive. Officers responded to a 32-year-old suffering from at least 1 gunshot wound and was taken to an area hospital after treatment from the Toledo Fire and Rescue crew. Now, for all creatives and art lovers alike, the River East Gallery is hosting the River East Mural and Arts Festival, Toledo's first free all-day mural and arts celebration. This is taking place this Saturday, September 28th, from 12 p.m. noon to 12 a.m. midnight. This festival will feature live mural painting, live music, vendors, and food trucks, with free admission for all attendees. The entire area of 6th and Main Streets in East Toledo will be booming with live music, art, and curated art gallery in the River East Gallery, located at 601 Main Street. A night of comedy with Jerry Seinfeld and Jen Gaffigan is coming to Toledo in March 2025. These two well-known comedians recently announced a comedy tour with 10 total shows, including 2 in Ohio next spring. The show is scheduled for March 20th, 2025 at 7:30 p.m. at the Huntington Center. Tickets go on sale Friday, September 27th at 10 a.m. at huntingtoncentertoledo.com. The second annual Toledo's Top Talent Competition took place at the Toledo Museum of Art's Peristyle Theater this past weekend with music by DJ Kane. 5 finalists, Oscar Tovar, Luis Gomez, Meche Trejo, Dalia Valle-Gomez, and Mariah Nicole McCarter battled it out for a grand prize of $2,000 and a recording contract with San Antonio-based music producer Gilbert Velasquez. Oscar Tovar won first place, taking home the $2,000 grand prize. Luis Gomez placed second, winning $1,000, and Mariah McCarter, the youngest contestant the competition has ever seen at just 10 years old, placed third, taking home $500. Toledo's Top Talent partnered with the City of Toledo, Taylor Automotive Family, the House of Chaos, and Masi Mas Guidance and Supportive Services to make this event possible. If you would like to participate in the fun, auditions for next year's competition begin in spring 2025. Congratulations to all of the winners and competitors this year. On to campus news. The annual UT Banned Books Vigil returned to the Carlson Library this Thursday, September 26th, for its 27th year of combating censorship and promoting our right to think, speak, and read freely. Created and hosted by the Department of Communication and Media's Dr. Paulette Kilmer, this annual event featured games, presentations, and songs related to the banning of books across the country every 30 minutes. This annual event will continue on as Dr. Kilmer enters her retirement, and Associate Professor Sumitra Srinivasan will be taking over the planning for U Toledo's Banned Book Vigil. The first fall edition of U Toledo's student newspaper, The Collegian, will be hitting newsstands across campus early next week on October 2nd. To learn more about hyperlocal campus news, don't forget to grab a copy off your closest newsstand. If you are a student at the University of Toledo and would like to become more involved with The Collegian, follow them on Instagram at The Collegian UT or email them at thecollegianut@gmail.com.
Now, before we sign off, I just wanted to say, she was 10, you said?
Yes, 10 years old. She was just 9 years old when she auditioned for Toledo's Top Talent earlier this year. And then she turned 10 right before the final competition. Ended up taking home the third place prize, and it's just amazing. She let me know in an interview that she took a lot of inspiration from her mother and father. Unfortunately, her father passed away in 2021. Very unfortunate to hear. Her mother actually told me that she has a locket that she wears up on stage before she performs, and that's something that helps her get the courage to go up on stage and perform in front of everyone. So very beautiful story, and I'm glad she was able to take home a prize.
Beautiful, beautiful. You love those feel-good stories.
Yes, definitely.
All right.
And then before we go, to help kick off U Toledo's Homecoming Week celebration, Rockets are invited to the annual Eat the Streets lunch from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday, September 30th on Centennial Mall, featuring a variety of food trucks as well as music and games. There will be a variety of events following the Eat the Streets to commemorate Homecoming Week, so make sure to stay updated on events at www.utoledo.edu/homecoming. That's it for the show. Thank you for tuning in to Autumn on Air on 88.3 WXUT. I'm Autumn Vasquez.
And I'm Autumn Cerniak.
And don't forget to tune in next Wednesday from 6:30 to 7:30 a.m.